Good afternoon, everyone. It's Mike. It is Friday. Hey, Friday, August 25th. This is your nightly market recap. Been definitely a Friday in the summer in the markets. We had Yellen speak. We just had Draghi speak. And overall, the markets have just kind of yawned the whole thing off on a pretty typical late Friday summer afternoon. So let's just jump right into it. We'll start going over it. Option flow today was a couple things that were interesting, but not much. We'll go over them. First off, on the SPY today, we gapped up, popped early, and we came right into our downtrend line. And we have, fell off of that. And looks like at this point, we're putting in a doji candle back above all the moving averages except for the 21 day at this point. With 30 minutes to go, we'll have to see how this plays out. Qs, sorry about that. Looking up Qs. Similar idea popped up. Came down, held the 50-day again. This is a couple sessions in a row now. The 50-day is obviously coming into play here. And this continues to go sideways. No real type of action in it today. IWM hit the 200-day today and stopped cold. It's had a nice little recovery from 134. There was some small buying in the indexes themselves. SPY saw December 251 calls, a nice size bet over 250,000. And we did see some buying in September 22 to 50 calls as well in the SPY. IWM caught an Armageddon put buyer, June 108 puts, almost $700,000 worth of them. So somebody's going out buying some big protection. We saw some VXX calls, September 1st, 5250 calls, but nothing big. We saw September 1st, 4850 calls, a couple $100,000 worth, but nothing huge. I mean, it was just one of those days where there's no big plays in the indexes, which is fine. Same thing with the puts. Put buying, we saw, we saw Kroger got a big April put buyer. So that's KR. It also got a call buyer. So first they bought puts on it, and they bought April 22 puts. And then later on, they came back and they hit it with some short-term September calls. Why can't I find it? There it is. September 1st, 22 calls. So, very mixed action there. Teva caught some more puts in September 8th, 16 puts. But most of all, the put action was small today. Nothing major. Nothing stood out. THC caught a call seller. So we had somebody come in and basically sold 5,000 to open 5,000 September 1st, 1650 calls. So right here at the money, somebody's calling a top on T and on healthcare, saying this isn't going any higher here. So just be aware, something to keep an eye on if you're in that position. So let's go to the option flow and let's just talk about the things that were good, not so good, and what happened today. In high beta tech, there wasn't a lot of flow today at all. Apple saw a January 170 call buyer, about $600,000 there, and then a bunch of very small sweeps, September 160s and first 160, September 8th 165s, and September 165 calls all hit. Nothing big, nothing of size here to sink our teeth into. But Apple had about the best. Baidu picked up some action. Baidu, they did play today. I didn't play Baidu today. I traded the... What did I trade today on Baidu? I traded the September 230 calls. So I traded the September 230 calls and, made some money on that. Nothing huge, but did make some money there. I'm sorry, 235 calls. There was buying in that line too. If you look at that, the 230 calls, there was definitely buying in there today. They swept into them late into the 230s. They bought 400 of them very close to the highs. And then, the market started to come unglued, and I didn't think Baidu would hold up against it. So I bailed and took my profits, about 22 cents, and ran. Nothing special. Closing week, went to the top of the channel. Not quite ready to go yet, but looks okay. What else? Baba caught some December 200 calls, a nice size bet there in the December 200 calls, but didn't do anything. Week today, coming into the 8 days, is an area I will keep an eye on it at this point as it comes down to that 8-day moving average to see if we can buy it there. What else out there? NVIDIA caught a small next week 160 call sweeper. NVIDIA was kind of weak today and just out of play. I mean, I think that's the way to look at most of these. NVIDIA was out of play. Facebook caught a small sweeper for next week's into the 170 calls and didn't do anything. That downtrend you can see here is still intact. It lost the 8 and the 21 day and back to the bottom of this channel here. So we'll have to see how that reacts. And other than that, not much. Ulta, which was hit hard. Ulta saw some flow today. Nothing huge. They did come in and hit next week's 215 calls, about 260 of them into here. There was also a decent amount of activity in the September 225 calls, but it wasn't clean. And what I mean by that is it was hard to tell how much of that was bought or sold to open. You can see there's 2,500 of them traded, though. We'll see how that looks on open interest on Monday. Ulta, for what it's worth, is very oversold and very extended to the downside, and it could get some type of bounce here. I just had no real interest in going after it today. What were some other good things? Here you go. BGC, name I'm not familiar with. They came after this one all morning, and the November calls. They were going after the November 819s. They came in here, and then they started coming in hard again. It's closing off. But you can see they hit that for over 4,000 of them. So that's not a name that catches a lot of option flow. So we'll have to see what that plays out. That was one that got hit. What else we saw today? We saw a GT. Come on, GT. GT got a big put buyer, 10,000 April 25s. So somebody's calling a bottom in Goodyear. All right, so 10,000 of those were sold to open. Very bullish. Urban, which they've nailed a couple times now. They came in today, and I kind of missed this. I wasn't paying attention. The December 24s, they came after the December 24s multiple times. 7,000 of them now traded on that line. Big size coming into it. Urban's a name they've actually been nailing now since just before earnings. They've done really, really well with Urban. And Viab was a name I did trade. I made like a whopping 2 cents on my options on it. So basically, I exited it flat. And they came in and they were playing with the September 30 calls. And what makes this, why it got my attention is this is very unusual. That's a big flow for a short time in Viab. It's an ugly trade. It's an ugly chart. It's trying to get going here. Probably should have had more patience to hold over the weekend, but I just don't want to take any risk over the weekend, especially in a chart that looks as bad as this one does. Verizon, late this afternoon, they started buying Verizon calls. They kept coming into them here, and they've been basically buying the November 50 calls. They bought up almost about $400,000 worth of those now. Steady buying coming into the name there. And we saw EL. EL caught another small sweep. There's a buyout rumor on this one. They hit the October 110 calls for 250 of them. Unilever is another one that's a buyout candidate. They hit the November 70s, small again, about 250 of them. And last but not least is X. And I only bring this up because X is one of these names you got to keep your eye on, because anything happens with Trump, you know it's going to go. Somebody bought 4,700 January 29 calls. So we'll have to keep an eye on this. Somebody put some big money behind that. It was almost $1 million bet at the end of the day, and we'll see how that goes. As we head into the close here, there's just not much going on. A lot of things are not moving real well on their own. The financials, first of all, the financials today, lethargic bounce, not doing anything with Yellen and Draghi. Energy, despite what's going on in the Gulf and oil, it's still not doing much of anything to get excited about. Other names like Tesla, that put buyer yesterday got paid, by the way. What he held overnight got paid big time as it came down. Amazon still looks vulnerable to me. Still can't get above the 8-day. Look at the 8-day coming down into it here. You guys can see this now, right? Coming in, we're gonna, next week should be a big week for this as that 8-day keeps coming down. Google, which has looked better than Amazon, still showing no power. Right back below the 8-day again on the close here. Not what we want to see. Netflix, another name we like to play with. Netflix just struggling here on the 50-day, losing it again onto the close. So, guys, it's just very, very mixed action here. We talk about tops being a process. Is this a top in the market? I don't know. And if anybody says they know, then you can look at them and say, okay, put all your money behind it. All I know is it's late August. We have a lot of political risk going on right now in headlines. And we have a descending trend line and a slowly series of lower highs coming into the SPY in the markets now. And we'll have to see how this plays out over the next couple of weeks. So, like me, trade small, take trade smaller than you would, be tighter, and reduce risk. Don't put a lot of swing trades on right now in this market unless you have a good feeling one way or the other. Anyway, guys, if you like what I have to say, please sign up at alphashark.com. Best coaching, the link's in the description. Everybody have a great weekend. I will try to get some charts up this weekend, but getting my daughter back to college, so I'm not sure how much time I'll have. That said, everybody enjoy, and I will talk to you on Monday morning.